Thank you for joining us and thank you for watching Hit the Ground Running. I'm Alexandra Mitchell and I'm the programming manager at SeriesFest. I am joined today with Ben Bouvier Farrell, who is the creator, writer, and director of Hit the Ground Running, and then his producer, Joe Murphy. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us, Alex.
Of course. To get started, I'd just love to know, what was the inspiration for this piece?
I think it kind of there's like kind of one moment that comes back to me. I was working at this like post-production house, and I was told if I could wait at the back door for like a sort of high-profile actor. And I was just waiting at the back door, and I just got like that people just forgot about me. And at first it was kind of like, oh shit, do I leave the door? And then I was like, no, I probably shouldn't, just in case the actor actually comes. And then I was trying to call the person that originally told me to wait, but it just like went on for an hour and a half. And I was like, geez, am I just a door stand here? So yeah, it kind of just got me thinking, like, you know, when you're in those sort of lower levels of the industry, you kind of get that real reality check. Like, a lot of people think that you are just a big part of this moving machine. And, you know, coming out of film school, everyone has aspirations to be at those top positions, but getting to those top positions is like a very long road. And I just thought it was quite funny that, you know, you learn all this theory and have all these dreams and then get into the industry and it's a real reality check. So yeah, that was kind of the basis of the idea. And yeah, it's sad getting left at the door, but not, yeah, it gave me the idea. So that was a positive.
And then Joe, how did you get involved with the project?
Yeah, Ben came to me quite a while ago with the idea, and it really resonated for me because as well, I'd had a lot of experience as a runner, mainly in reality television. So it's quite a cruel world, the reality world. And a lot of the ideas were so comical but also just resonated with me. It's like, because it was just my experience, you know, and carrying 15 coffees and accidentally building yourself into a storage unit and accidentally, you know, taking a wrong turn and driving an actor for 45 minutes in the wrong direction. It just was just something that was so relatable to me that I couldn't resist but to help out. And also it's kind of just fun to just poke fun at the industry as well and be like, this is just, you know, it's not rocket science, but still it's it's a pretty crazy thing. And so yeah, I just wanted to help make that story.
Great. And as you mentioned, these situations are comedic. They're comedic often in real life as well. I'd love to know a little bit about the production process. It's a workplace comedy, but it's a workplace comedy on the move and constantly on the move. Can you talk about production?
Sure. Yeah, one of the things that we kind of said from the start was like, we never wanted people to feel like the world was too foreign, even if they didn't know the industry. So I think like one of the big things I've seen in industry shows is that there's a lot of like places or terms that are getting thrown around and people they just kind of like, unless there's a famous actor in it, they kind of go like, oh, I don't really know what's going on here. So we kind of said from the start, let's just hone in on spaces that are like super common and boring. So like a car park and like the back of a building, a car, you know. So that was, you know, a good idea in terms of writing. But then I remember going to Joe and being like, okay, we're going to film basically like a whole episode in a car. And he was like, okay. And we actually did shoot the second episode entirely in a car. So that was a bit of a challenge production wise. If you want to speak a bit about that, Joe.
Yeah, it was very go, 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 which is kind of hints to, I guess, that, you know, reality of that world we were trying to create anyway, you know, that on-set production world is just, you're putting out fires left, right, and center. You're it's an uphill battle from go to woe. So that was the kind of process. It was a small crew, a small tight crew. We had a lot of multiple locations per day, and it was long days, and it was we were trying to shoot as much as we could, but also make it the highest quality that we could with the resources we had. And it just kind of goes back to that connection of our actual process, trying to put it together, and then the reality of what we were shooting, which was so in line with that.
There's actually a few days. Yeah, there's actually a few days where I reckon they probably could have, at the end of it, we could have got an episode out of them in terms of actually what was happening to.
Yeah, I know. Like, we should have just set up GoPros just around the chaos of just our own set and just throwing that in as like B-roll.
I was going to ask that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we had that day. We couldn't get any water, and like it was like we were filming at like an actual.
So just for context, we were filming in Australia, which can get quite hot in summer, and this turned out to be this massive this heat wave in Sydney and New South Wales, where we're from, that resulted in these massive bushfires that went for a couple months 2 years ago. And this was just in that lead up period before those bushfires, and so it was constantly like 45-degree days, and we were shooting out in this massive car park, and it was concrete slabs, and the heat was radiating, and it was just kind of this smoke in the air. And we actually had to go get not respirators, but face masks.
Yeah.
Just because some people were like throughout the entire shoot of that day. And that was just in the lead up to COVID. So we had all these face masks just from production. That was great. We could just hand those out after and just like. Anyway, and then we ran out of water that day. So we were on this mission to go find water. It was just like one thing on top of another of just chaos, just chaotic energy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was fun.
Yeah, those, it's art imitating life and life kind of fueling the art. I was definitely going to ask, you're doing a project about the behind the scenes of making a production, and if there were any kind of unique challenges to that.
I think it's that you're just.
Yeah, you go.
I think you're just hyper aware of what not to do, so you try to, you fight against that. Like we had some runners on our shoot, and we were so hyper aware of not treating them like runners, because we didn't want them to be like, it's this funny thing of just trying to treat them really nicely. So they were actually just having a great time, just sitting on this golden throne of just us just kind of being like, you guys are fantastic. You just keep doing what you're doing. You're amazing. And if you have time, could you please go grab
if you want to.
If you want to.
It's up to you. It's up to you. Yeah, I think for me, it was more just like getting the tone right. I think like definitely like my kind of intention from the start, and with Joe as well, was like we want to make it like hyper realistic, and like for the comedy to come out of real, like very much real situations and feel real, because we don't really like that sort of style of comedy where everything gets a bit hammy. And I remember talking to a few people before we actually shot, and they were like, make sure you really play the true emotion and like let the comedy come organically. Don't like try and force it or try and be funny, that sort of stuff. So yeah, prior to that, I think it was just the tone, getting all that right, and then as Joe said, just like making sure the runners were taken care of.
That is wonderful. Well, Ben and Joe, thank you so much for sharing Hit the Ground Running with our audiences and with SeriesFest. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks for having us, Alex.
Of course.
Thanks for having us. Cheers.